If you're searching for top-notch master plan communities in South Katy, chances are you've come across some beautiful homes in Grand Lakes. And if you've Googled a little bit longer, chances are you've also seen some pretty scary headlines back from Hurricane Harvey in 2017. But as with all things, the devil really is in the details, so I'm here to help you sort the headlines from the facts. We'll cover what continues to make Grand Lakes a favorite among people in Katy and cover some of the pros and cons. Hi, I'm Carolyn Bauerschlag, a local resident and realtor right here in Katy, Texas, and I've helped hundreds of people relocate from all over the country right to our great city. If you're considering a move to the area, I would love to add you to our client family. Grand Lakes is as popular as it is primarily because of the schools that it's zoned to within Katy ISD. Now, the big one that everyone knows and Googles is going to be Seven Lakes High School, and Grand Lakes is part of the name of Seven Lakes, so I don't suspect that this is going to change anytime soon, right? So Seven Lakes High School is named for Seven Meadows and Grand Lakes, which are the two primary schools that feed it. But it's not just the high school, right? Everyone really loves the elementary and the junior high as well. Alexander Elementary sits at one of the major intersections within Grand Lakes. It's going to be along Fry Road. So I wouldn't call it one of the ones that's easier for you to walk and bike to, but you will see, of course, crossing guards at those major intersections during drop-off and dismissal. Beckendorf is just across the freeway or the Grand Parkway. So you would get on South Fry and you would go underneath Grand Parkway in order to get to your junior high, or you would utilize bus service for your kids. Now, Grand Lakes as a neighborhood is split between two sections, and the majority of the neighborhood is going to be on the east side of the Grand Parkway or 99. And that by itself is a major reason why people like the neighborhood. I talk to buyers all the time that say that they would rather cut off their right leg than have to commute from anywhere on the west side of the Grand Parkway. So that is a driving factor for why I would say people are very attracted to the spot. So similar to Seven Meadows, it's got very easy access to the West Park Toll and to 99. And I would say it's not super difficult to get from Grand Lakes onto 99 up to I-10. So if getting to I-10 is important to you in your commute, it's not going to take 0 minutes, but it won't be super punishing for you to get there either. Now, the majority of the homes that were built on the east side of Grand Lakes were built between 1998 and 2006-ish, 2007. And then there's a smaller pocket of Grand Lakes on the west side of 99. It's pretty tight. That was built between like 2005, 2007 also. In general, I would say that when I hear negative feedback about Grand Lakes, it is because of the negative press that was received during Hurricane Harvey. And honestly, rightfully so, right? But not all of Grand Lakes was victim to what happened in Hurricane Harvey. And that's really what I want to touch on here for a moment. Now, just to get the elephant out of the room, the truth is that the vast majority of this neighborhood is outside of any kind of floodplain. And really only a small portion of Grand Lakes is in what we call the 500-year floodplain. And the 500-year floodplain, if you're not familiar with it, is something that's meant to say that there is a 0.2% chance every year that this home would take on water. Or put differently, it would happen statistically once in every 500 years. But what happened in Harvey is that Barker Reservoir had to be released just due to the amount of pressure that was on that reservoir, and they were trying to avoid a catastrophic failure of the reservoir. And so as that water was released, water came out from the spillover of the back of Barker Reservoir and basically started to flood portions of Grand Lakes. Now, the portions that it flooded are largely isolated to the section called Grand Lakes Phase 3. And this is going to be most prevalently in the southeast quadrant of where Peak and South Fry Road intersect. So not all of Grand Lakes Phase 3 flooded either, but I would say at least half of that area did take on water during Harvey. Now, if you have the opportunity to go and drive Grand Lakes, you can almost see it, right? Because what's so interesting about this area is that when you're driving, eastward towards Barker Reservoir, you can see the elevation actually start to drop, right? Like it gets more insulated. The trees are bigger. Like it kind of feels like you're sinking a little bit into this nice green wooded space. But like when you leave Grand Lakes and you get on Peak Road to go to 1093, like you have to drive over the berm or like the flood wall of Barker Reservoir, right? So it's like there's your visual cue of like how that elevation change actually comes into effect as you get in towards that reservoir area. So what I want to express in this video just briefly is that if you Google Grand Lakes, you're going to see some very scary headlines that might make it look like the whole neighborhood went under. But really what we were dealing with was an isolated pocket called Grand Lakes Phase 3. And even within that Phase 3 pocket, not all of it went underwater. I do get the question asked directly from prospective clients and clients like, hey, Carolyn, like, would you consider buying here? And my answer is yes. But I probably wouldn't buy in Phase 3. And it's not just because it flooded in Harvey. I just personally have an aversion to the 500-year floodplain. So personal preference, but that's the very direct answer. All right, now that we kind of got the elephant out of the room, let's tag back to the reasons why people really love this neighborhood. If you want to live in Grand Lakes, your money is going to go pretty far relative to, let's say, Seven Meadows, right? So Seven Meadows, everyone knows, loves, perennial favorite. Grand Lakes is a little bit different. It offers, in general, bigger lots. That's going to be the main thing. So even though the average prices between Seven Meadows and Grand Lakes are almost the same at that $628,000 mark, and your house size is going to be about the same at 3,200-ish square feet, that lot is going to be bigger, and that really is important to a lot of folks. So another great thing about Grand Lakes is that the tax rate is extremely low. Right. So in most of Grand Lakes, the tax rate is going to be right at about 1.82, which is unheard of. That's almost the type of tax rate that you see for folks that are on a well and septic system where there is no mud district. Right. But there is a mud district. You do get public water. You do get public sewage, drainage, all that kind of stuff. You're not responsible for a well and septic. You just have an exceptionally low tax rate. So if you kind of tag back and think about it, the majority of South Katy in 2026, I would say, has a tax rate that's closer to 2.6, 2.7%. So 1.82 is a real standout. Now, there are parts of Grand Lakes where the tax rate is higher. It's going to be like 2.13 in 2026. So marginally higher, but still well below the average that I'm kind of used to seeing in our immediate area. Another thing that I like about the neighborhood is that the price ranges are pretty wide and varied, and that they really do offer a little bit of something for everyone. Your buy-in price right now in Grand Lakes is going to be somewhere just north of $300,000, and the values go all the way up to $1.2 million here in 2026. So if what you're looking for is a starter home, or you want something that truly is more of an estate, all of those options are available to you in this neighborhood. Now, I know I keep harping on the lot size here in Katy ISD for Grand Lakes, but I want to give you a little bit more context if you're relocating from somewhere else. In general, we deal with neighborhood lot sizes that I would say are about 7,000 or 8,000 square feet. That's going to be 50 or 55 feet wide on the front end, maybe 120 feet deep, right? And that can kind of make some people feel itchy. They say, oh, I feel too close to my neighbors. I really want some elbow room, right? And what you're dealing in is lot sizes that are almost, I don't want to say uniformly, but very close to a quarter acre in size. And many of them go up to a third or half an acre, which is wildly substantial in our immediate area. So for folks that are feeling like they don't want to be so close to their next door neighbors, I would say the driving reason that people would consider Grand Lakes over Seven Meadows would be that elbow room between houses, right? So if that is important to you, I would say please don't rule out Grand Lakes. Now, I promised you a couple of pros, so here's the first one. The first is that Grand Lakes is very beautiful. If you drive through the neighborhood, what you're going to be met with is, of course, beautiful views of the lakes. Now, the lakes are man-made. We know this. In Houston, we don't really have lakes. We have retention ponds that developers very intelligently turned into lakes. So Grand Lakes did a good job with this. They're not just going to look like rectangular water basins. They're very nicely made, and there's beautiful spray fountains and all of these lakes throughout the area. So if you really like to walk your dog, ride your bike, go for runs outside, play outdoors with the kids, there's communal spaces, there's walking trails. The trees over in Grand Lakes are truly lovely too. Very mature, very tall live oaks that the arborists take great care of. There's beautiful pergolas. People will take their prom pictures on them, like over the waterways. The fountains are gorgeous. It really is a lot to look at. The HOA is robust as well. There's water park style pools. There's lap pools, tons of pocket parks, tons of playgrounds. I spend time in Grand Lakes pretty much every week. My son is in Soccer Shots, and Soccer Shots has their little outpost on these Grand Lakes sports fields that are right in the middle of the neighborhood. So we park our car around the circle. My boy plays Soccer Shots, and then we walk the lap and wave at him while he does it. So it really is a beautiful area. The second major pro of Grand Lakes to me is going to be the location. If you legitimately need 2 to 5 minutes to get to any kind of freeway, like if that's important to you, you can get it in Grand Lakes, right? So you're maybe 5 minutes to the West Park Toll, very easy to get there. If you need to get to Grand Parkway, I would say 2 minutes with no lights, 5 minutes with lights. And if you need to get to I-10, you're probably, maybe 8-ish minutes with no traffic, 10-ish minutes, maybe 15 with really bad traffic to get to I-10. So egress, ingress in and out of the neighborhood is really pretty great. Now, location, of course, is not just commuting. It is also like what's immediately around you. You are right on top of La Centera. You can get there in probably 5 or 6 minutes very easily. The public library, your Whole Foods, your Trader Joe's, your H-E-B, it's all literally within a stone's throw of the neighborhood. Now for some cons. There's two sides to the location coin, right? As many people that love to be very close to freeways, highways, major roads, there's just as many people that say, hey, I don't like that. There are pockets of Grand Lakes that I would say don't necessarily sell as quickly because the noise pollution coming off of the Grand Parkway is too high, right? So if you look at a map and you see that there is quite literally a grass strip between you and 99, I would say that house is sitting there because the road noise coming off of it is very significant. Now, Grand Lakes also has some pretty big roads that go through it that are not 99, right? You've got South Fry Road, which is 2 lanes plus turn lanes in both directions. You've got Peak Road, which is in many cases 2 lanes plus a turn lane in both directions. So those are 4 and sometimes 5, 6-ish lane roads that are going through the neighborhood. What we always encourage people to do if they're considering a home in that area is to book an appointment during rush hour and to stand in the backyard and really just kind of listen to say, hey, is this obstructive to me? Or is it the way the home is positioned behind like a huge hedge of trees that it really doesn't matter, right? And I would say that while that noise pollution can be a con, I do think that Grand Lakes did a great job of planting a lot of foliage to reduce that noise. Now, the second major con, of course, is going to be the lingering flood risk, right? I would say that Grand Lakes Phase 3 absolutely got stigmatized as a result of Hurricane Harvey. And I would say that there's, no pun intended, kind of a spillover effect that extends to other parts of Grand Lakes. Now, that's not to say that these homes don't sell quickly into multiple offers, because they absolutely do. I have buyers shopping this area right now, and a well-priced, well-positioned home that didn't flood is going to sell quickly. And again, it's because of Seven Lakes High School. It's because of lot size. It's because of the high-quality construction builds. I didn't mention this earlier, but the builders that are in there are staples of the Houston area. You've got Trendmaker, you've got Coventry, you've got Newmark, and these homes really are in excellent condition. So while there are just as many people that will say, the previous flooding doesn't bother me, I would say that there are just as many people that say, I don't want to live in an area that carries any kind of flood risk. So if you fit the profile that says, hey, flood risk is not for me, I would say scratch Grand Lakes Phase 3 off your list and focus either on Grand Lakes Phase 1, Phase 2, or turn your focus over to the area on the west side of 99, which was functionally flood-free. Now, there were very, very, very isolated incidents where a home or two here or there on the west side of 99 did take on some water, and those homes were oftentimes the ones that backed up to a man-made drainage ditch or the bayou tributary that was running into a watershed. So you're not 100% out of the woods if you're on the west side of Grand Parkway in Grand Lakes as far as flood risk goes, but it was much more isolated. If you're thinking about making a move to Katy or the West Houston area, I would love to be your realtor. Make sure to check the description below where you can find my contact information. And if you found value in this video here today, make sure to click the link below and subscribe, because we put content like this out every single week. See you soon.